nepotism in Hollywood. This is a super interesting article that came out. So Franklin Leonard, who I did not know by name, he invented the blacklist. You know, the blacklist, which is like the list of the top unproduced movies in Hollywood every year. He came up with that, which is like a very cool thing. And they've actually ended up making some of those movies and they've won Oscars, which is just crazy. But Franklin Leonard had tweeted out basically about, and I retweeted this story too. I just found it hilarious. There's a movie coming out in discussing film, had this tweet that said Hopper Penn, Sean Penn's son, and Brian Darcy James have been cast in The Right Way from director Destry Spielberg, Steven Spielberg's daughter, and writer Owen King, Stephen King's son. Right? It's like, thanks, Dad, the movie. And so Franklin Leonard responded to that or quote tweeted it by saying, Hollywood's a meritocracy, right? ? And look, it's true, right? There's a lot of people who are kids of very famous people. But Ben Stiller pushed back on that. Obviously, Ben Stiller's from a very famous family, his father and his mother, both big names in Hollywood. He tweeted that, yes, just speaking from experience, I don't know any of these people basically, but I would bet that they've all faced challenges different from those with no access to the industry. Showbiz, as we all know, is pretty rough, and ultimately it is a meritocracy. Look, I think they're both right. Like, Ben Stiller is given a chance in Hollywood because he's Jerry Stiller's son, right? Like, it's a fact. Jerry Stiller was a fucking legend. Ben Stiller is still in Hollywood because Ben Stiller has talent. Like, you can't just get there and stay there and be a no talent ass clown for the most part and not make it big. Like, that doesn't really happen. I can't think of somebody who is like the kid of a famous person who absolutely fucking sucks and is like a multi-million-dollar big time movie star. I can't think of any. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that, I've read this Deadline article and I read the back and forth, and I'm glad to see that this was an actual like discourse.
Yeah, between two intelligent people, right?
Yeah, and not just like people shouting at each other.
I'm sure in the comments it was.
Yeah, who cares about the comments? But it's I think it's disingenuous to pick out this one short film.
Right, it's a short film too, right?
Yeah, I think it's a little disingenuous to pick out this one short film to discuss nepotism in Hollywood. And maybe he was just kind of joking, like half joking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm willing to give that guy the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, you're right. Like, you get your foot in the door any way you can.
Right.
It's done in literally every industry.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. Like, nepotism exists everywhere.
It's done in every industry. And like the Smiths do it, right?
Yeah.
Will and Jada Smith, like they do it. Like, and I'm not mad at them for doing it.
No.
Like, because that's what you do for your kids.
Look, to quote Will Smith in Suicide Squad, white people that shit. Like, yeah. Like, he was literally talking about, like, just use your connections to make sure my kid goes to college. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Right. The colleges do it, right?
Yes. Did we put, like, the mom from Full House in that? In jail for that shit?
Exactly. Like, it would be one thing if people get their foot in the door and fail up.
Yeah, they're not the Bush family.
But you get in where you fit in, man. And I just I don't know. I found it disingenuous, but I continue to read this, and he's like, hey, I don't doubt that these people have faced their challenges, but he's stuck on the fact that Hollywood thinks of itself as a meritocracy.
Yeah.
And look, we're not in that industry, but if Hollywood, I 100% agree. I believe him that he thinks that Hollywood thinks that it's all about pulling itself up by its bootstraps.
Oh yeah, no, 100% Hollywood believes that.
Right.
That horse shit.
And that is not the case, right?
No, it's not.
Like Obama said, you didn't build that, right? Like you didn't build, like people helped you, right? Like we live in a society, and people picked you up, and the other side was just like, see, he said you didn't build it because you don't do anything because you're fucking lazy, right? Like no. He's just saying that it's very difficult to do anything on your own.
No one does anything on their own.
Right.
No one has ever built a business in the history of businesses, except for UGG, who was selling rocks, carved into round pieces at the beginning of time. No one has ever started a business on their own. In the modern era, no, it's impossible. You got roads. It's paid for by tax dollars. Like you didn't build the business on your own.
So Franklin Leonard goes on to say, like, what about the lack of diversity behind the camera, right? It's not because of lack of merit. And I agree that's a problem, right?
Right. And
but
look,
I don't know if is that what they're talking about here?
I mean, the thing is, Hollywood is sort of nepotistic.
It's incestuous.
Like it is. Like it's just the nature of things. Like it's that way because it has always been a family business, right? Like if your father is a director or your mother is a director, it's an art, right? Like that's the thing that's a little unfair to even not fair to criticize it, but it's a little unfair to compare it to like, and this, I'm not saying this to like denigrate this, but like, it's unfair to compare it to like truck driving or like, I don't know, being an architect or anything like that. And not even an architect. That's not even a good comparison, but like, let's say truck driving, because truck driving is not an art, right? People are generally would not consider themselves, a truck driver would not consider themselves an artist, and no one else would. That doesn't mean it's not skilled labor or anything like that. That's not my point. My point is, like, I'm married to an artist, right? Like, being an artist isn't just a job. Like, it is a way of life. You know, like there is it's a very different thing. So if you have a father who is a director, they're an artist. So they probably talk about it more. It is much more a part of their daily lives outside of their 9-to-5 job. So it's not shocking that kids who grow up with artists tend to be artists. Like, it's not like, so yes, it makes sense that if your dad is a director, you get into acting or you get into directing. That makes a lot of sense. Your dad is fucking Stephen King. He's one of the most prolific writers in American fucking history in the modern era. He's an artist. Like, he talks about, he's inspired by things he sees. Like, oh, look at this thing, I'm going to put it in my book. Like, he's constantly talking about that and taking things from life and putting that into his art. It makes sense that his son is also a writer, right? Like, that shouldn't be a shock. And because of that, Hollywood is small. So if you're a director, where else you gonna go? If you're an American kid who wants to be a director, you go to Hollywood. Well, my dad's a director. Well, okay, I'm Jay the director. My son or my daughter wants to be a director. Oh, well, I got a lot of friends. I've been in the industry for 50 years. Hey, give a kid a chance. Look at this. Look at my kid's college work. Oh, that's pretty good. Turns out, give him a chance. What about this short film? Yeah, you want to give him a little bit of money, see what you can do? Yeah, sure. That's how it happens. But that doesn't happen in truck driving, right? That doesn't happen in IT work. Generally, it's not, because I don't like like those type of jobs, and I'm a person who works in IT, like I don't talk about I don't see IT as an art or whatever. So it's not a part of my life that my daughter is like, I would like to also take up the mantle of IT. It's just not a thing. But art is a very different thing. So like, it makes sense that it's so incestuous. Whether it's a meritocracy depends on whether you have fucking talent once you get there.
Yeah, man. Like, look at Max Landis.
There's a perfect example, actually. It's a perfect example.
Like, he's the son of a legendary comedian, writer, director. Max Landis, he's had
Sean Landis, by the way.
Right. He's had a moderate amount of success. Not as much as but he's not necessarily to my taste.
No.
But if you were the son of John Landis, I don't know. I'm expecting like big things, right?
Right. That's a lot to live up to.
It is. And I don't necessarily think he's at that level.
No.
And he's not in the mouths of people, right? Like,
no, they turfed his ass out.
Right. Like he didn't that's where the meritocracy part comes in.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You're in, but you don't stay there. Now, I think Franklin Leonard, he's in reading more of his tweets, he's more concerned about like, well, how do you get more diversity behind the camera? I think that it is, as someone who knows nothing about this industry, speaking from literally 3,000 miles away from it, I think that we are starting to see a little more people get in. And look, it's because of people like Will Smith. It's because of people like Jordan Peele. It's because of people like Denzel Washington. Like, they're not blood related, but like that's how you do it.
Yep.
And there are enough of at least black people. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, right? I see enough black people who are pillars in this industry that bring people in and bring people up. And I think stuff like that, I think it's moving slowly but surely.
Look, you wouldn't have had a Chadwick Boseman without a Denzel Washington. Quite literally.
Literally, you wouldn't have had Chadwick Boseman without Denzel Washington. So I think it's happening. I just think it's happening at a very slow rate. Look, when Chloe Zhao blows up, she's already an Academy Award winning director. She's blown up critically. When she blows up financially, you better believe she'll be bringing people in. She'll be bringing people in that look like her. She'll be bringing people in that have her ideals, and to get those people above and behind the camera. Look at Black Panther. Look at what Black Panther did.
Yep.
For the movie industry. I can't remember the woman's name. Damn, I can't even remember her title.
The costume director?
Yes, thank you. The costume director. Like, and now she's getting a lot of work because she's awesome, right? And the industry knows her and who she is, and it gets her more work. Like, that's what you do. You bring people in. That's what everyone does. That's what everyone does.
Yeah.
We bring people in that we work with people, and we bring people in that we like and help boost them up.
Right. Like that. I mean, but that is every industry. Like it is.
It's literally every industry.
Right. You always like to pretend that it's like Hollywood is like that. Like, you sure? Go to your job and ask everybody how they got their job.
Right. Yo, right.
I guarantee you there is 60+% of those people are like, well, I knew somebody who used to work here. Like,
at least one. Most people have had multiple jobs. I'm willing to bet that at least one of those jobs, somebody knew somebody that got them that job.
My job, it was my buddy used to work there. He was leaving. Like, he was like, hey, I'm going to bike across America. I'm about to quit this job. You want it? Like, we were hanging out. Like, there's a bunch of us. And like, we literally had this conversation in a hot tub. And I was like, yeah, all right. Like, how much does it pay? And he was like, this much. I was like, bet. He was like, put your resume in. I was like, got it. Yeah.
Right.
So like, and he helped me out. So I was like, cool. I've been there for fucking 15 years. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, but I didn't just get the job as an unqualified moron. I got the job, and the meritocracy part is staying there for 15 years. Right. So, and
I would argue you weren't given the job.
No, I just got a chance to get my foot in the door.
They made sure to take an extra long look at your resume.
That's it. And that's all people want.
Right. And because guess what? If your resume was shit, I don't give a fuck who you know.
Right. Like, this guy fucking sucks. And I've definitely gone in an interview. I'm like, all right, buddy, help me out. And they were like, yeah. They're like, nah, nigga, you ain't get it. Like, oh, sad. So yeah, it happens. It happens. But yeah, no, Max Landis is a perfect example of that. Right. Like, now he fucked himself up because he's like a sexual predator. And they were just like, when people say nobody gets canceled, oh, he got canceled. They ended his whole fucking career. You're done.
It took me a minute to think of the guy's name. I had to look it up. I was like, who's John Landis' son?
Oh, that guy. That's right. Yeah. No, he's done. I mean, look, I'm sure he's well off. I mean, it looks like he's worth, according to this, $6 million, which is gross.
He's got that bright money, bro. That's your favorite.
I fucking hate that guy, dude. I fucking hate that guy. I fucking hate that guy. Ugh. But he wrote something in 2020. Right? Like, he did. So he's not that canceled, I guess. I mean, he wrote it for a movie starring Chloe Grace Moretz. And not that Chloe Grace Moretz is canceled, but like, she really kind of got turfed out of Hollywood, like, pretty sweet. Like, there was like,
what does she do?
She was Hit Girl in Kick-Ass.
No, I mean, what does she do that she is
nothing
around anymore?
I just don't think she's that great of an actress. I was like, they were just like, nah, we're good. Like, we don't need another Kick-Ass movie. You good? Like, you stay over there. So yeah, look, there are many things. There are many things that can keep you or get you into Hollywood. But having actual talent is a way to stay.
Yeah.
In the mainstream. You can make a bunch of shitty B movies for the rest of your life. Like, but that's not in Hollywood. Like, that's in the Valley. Like, you're doing shoots next to the house is doing porn shoots, right? Like, or the same house. Like, oh, we got 2:30 to 3:30, like, so that's not staying in Hollywood. So we shall see what happens. But I thought it was a good conversation between Leonard and Stiller. I thought they were both like totally reasonable guys. So
yeah, I appreciated that conversation because it wasn't like it didn't devolve into like fucking name calling.
Ben Stiller's a racist. Right, Leonard's a dumb N-word. You're like, yo, what the fuck, man?
I didn't think that could happen on Twitter of all places.
Oh, I just assume that was raging in the comments. I just read their commentary, which was lovely and interesting and reasonable.